What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Garden Talk with Keyshawn. Once again, I'm so excited to be here with you guys today to help you guys with more tips on gardening. So today we're going to be talking about seeds. In probably the next video, we're going to continue on with seeds because it's a lot I want to talk about. And today's video, it might be a little long, so just sit back, relax, and chill. You can put your headphones in while you're driving to work or just chilling at home and just listen and get all the information that will be said today. The best crops of seedlings and garden transplants start with good soil mixes. When you think good, do not think rich. In fact, it's probably better if the mixtures in which you sow your seeds aren't rich in nutrients. It's much more important that they be light and well aerated. And aerated goes to say that it has enough drainage and it's loose for air. Like I said, providing enough support so that seedlings can grow upright. You want your seedlings to grow upright and you want them to retain adequate moisture. So, seed starting mixes should also be free of weed seeds and soil-borne diseases, especially like fungi. Some gardeners prefer to sow seeds in special seed starting mediums such as straight vermiculite or a mixture of equal parts vermiculite, sphagnum moss, and perlite. And then they tend to transplant the seedlings into a potting or growing mix that contains a little more nutrients than those. On the other hand, others prefer to plant seeds directly in a mix that contains nutrient-rich components such as compost or commercial potting soil. But if you're undecided, experiment with both methods to determine which gives you the most satisfactory results is better. Because at the end of the day, you want whichever works for you and whichever one is easy for you to access, wherever you may be at the time or whatever you can afford is best for you. And there are many mixes to choose from. So, let's start off with vermiculite. This is an excellent medium for germinating seeds that can even be used by itself. If you look at it closely, you'll see that it is composed of shiny, flake-like particles, which indicates its origin. Vermiculite is a form of mica, and that has been heated and popped just like popcorn. I don't know if I can give an example, but they're like fluffy, but then they do this thing where it's like it's how could I say this? It's air fluffed. You put it like in a thing, man, it's air fluff. So that's how vermiculite comes about. So seed starters appreciate vermiculite's light texture and ability to absorb large quantities of water, as well as its ability to soak up plant nutrients from fertilizers and slowly release them into plants. Isn't that good? Vermiculite is great, 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 great. The next one I want to, talk about is sphagnum moss. All right. So this popular material is actually a type of moss that is collected live from acid bogs and dried. It is sold in two forms: whole, dried plants, most often packaged into blocks or bales, and milled sphagnum, the most popular for seed starters. Milled sphagnum, as its name suggests, consists of very finely chopped sphagnum moss plants, but both are light brown or tan in color and are relatively sterile and have excellent moisture holding capacity. There is some evidence that sphagnum moss, as well as milled sphagnum, helps control bacterial diseases of seedlings. Peat moss. Don't confuse milled sphagnum or sphagnum moss, like I said before, with peat moss or sphagnum peat. They are all different. Now, they're different is that which are the sphagnum peat, sorry. The sphagnum peat are the decomposed remains of bog-dwelling mosses and other plants. Peat moss, which is dark brown in color, is often used in mixtures because it holds moisture well. It's relatively sterile and is readily available. It can be very difficult to wet. However, if allowed to dry out, it tends to form a crust and can be very difficult to re-wet. Perlite. Despite its artificial appearance, perlite is a form of volcanic ash that, like vermiculite, has been popped again. Like it's aerated so it could have more of a fluff to give you that aerated for your soil. Perlite's main asset is its ability to promote good drainage, like I was saying, in seed starting mixes. It is also relatively sterile and doesn't carry diseases or fungi. Isn't that great? Now, gardeners, don't use plain garden soil for germinating seeds or growing seeds. And let me tell you why. It is usually too much heavy and thick when used in containers, and it tends to pack and crust. Unfertilized garden soil harbors fungi that cause maybe damping off, or a disease that kills seedlings and it rots them at soil level. That's why sometimes when you plant seeds, let's just say 2 weeks later, you'll be like, wow, why my seeds didn't grow? And it's like the soil was too heavy and it rotted at soil level. So you never got a chance to see that seed grow because it became rotten at soil level. Sometimes it also even attacks before seedlings emerge from the soil. That's why it is a good idea to use fresh potting soil for each new seedling crop and add the old soil to the compost heap, because in later when you add that to the compost heap, when it's time to transplant that seed and you add that to your garden bed, you're gonna have rich, the best soil ever. All right, gardeners. That's my name for you. I can call you all gardeners. Now that I've talked about different mixes for seeds, let's talk about sowing seeds. Now, you can either sow your seeds, let's just say in flats, and then you could transport them into pots when they're large enough, or you could just use individual containers around your house. For those of you on a low budget, you could use plastic bedding plants, 6 watts from your store, but you could also use empty cottage cheese containers, half pint milk cartons, egg crates, and let me see what else, water bottles, or so much more. Sowing 1 or 2 seeds per container. Seeds sown in an individual container, they won't need transplanting if you use a mixture containing nutrient-rich ingredients such as compost. So many gardeners use individual pots as flats. They sow many seeds per pot and then they transplant the sturdiest ones to the individual containers. That's what we normally do commonly. So you start by collecting all the supplies you need to sow your seeds. Whatever you need to sow your seeds, you have to always have them on handy. So seed sowing can be a very, very messy operation. Trust me. So you want to choose a spot where you will have plenty of space to spread out and cover the area with the newspaper. You can use newspaper, or if you're outside, you just want a neat area because it's like very, very dirty. All right, guys. All right. So you're going to take a minute to look over your seed packets again. You want to make labels for each type and remind yourself of important germinating instructions. You can make your own labels from things like wooden popsicle sticks or strips cut from plastic jugs, or you could buy ready-made labels from your garden supply store. We have them at Divine Favor. You could also use pencils. I've used it before. It's just as good. You could use a good, when I say use a good, use a good writing tool, because like felt tip pens, it could fade and run when either when it rains or when you water. So you want to get a nice sturdy pencil. I want to say pencil. I'm so sorry. Pen or marker that will not run in the rain, because you don't want your writing to disappear. To keep soil from sifting out through the drainage holes in the flats or containers, whatever you use, you can start by spreading a layer of newspaper or paper towels or torn pre-moistened sphagnum moss on the bottom. You could also cut the newspaper to fit the bottom of the flat. If it protrudes above soil, it will draw off soil moisture. And then we also normally some soil trays come with the already made tray to the bottom, so you probably wouldn't even have to do that if you just purchase the boat. You could always add a layer of perlite to improve drainage and fill the flats or containers up to about maybe half an inch from the top with the pre-moistened seeds starting or potting mix then you have selected. Now you could either sow your seeds in rows or space them over the entire surface, right? But you don't want to sow them too thickly. You don't want to just like get the whole seed. No. Space tiny seeds. Yeah, before I get there, like there's different kinds sizes seeds, and then like there's a way to sow each different size seed. So let's start off with the tiny seeds. Back to what I was saying. You want to space your tiny seeds about maybe 1/8 of an inch apart. The medium seeds about a half an inch apart, and your large seeds about 1 inch. So when I say tiny seeds, that's like maybe broccoli seeds or cabbage seeds. When I talk about the medium seeds, that's the seeds maybe a little bigger than that, maybe like corn. Or is corn considered a large seed? You guys let me know in the comments. And like the big seeds like watermelon and pumpkin, those large seeds, you could space them 1 inch apart because they can take up enough space for them to grow on their own. You could always thin out excess seedlings. Crowding encourages disease and reduces vigor. So, taking the time to space out your seeds at the beginning, it results in a huskier, better, full grown, gorgeous seedlings. As a general rule, seeds should be covered to a depth of 3 times their size. So, very fine seeds again should only be pressed into the soil surface. You don't want to press it all the way down because, again, it can rot and you will never see that seed sprout. Some seeds require light to germinate and should not be covered at all. Or even if you cover it, you like gently. I don't even think you would press it, you would just like kind of tap it because in order for them to get that light, they are going to grow. If you pre-soak your soil, then it really isn't necessary to water just after sowing the seeds because too much water again can rot your seeds. Most seeds germinate better at warmer temperatures, like maybe let's just say 70 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Set your containers under grow lights. For those who grow inside, they tend to have lights, and then for those who are outside, you have natural nature sunlight. Now, for those germinating seeds, you require high humidity and moist soil. So, you want to cover the containers with those inside with a plastic sheet or bag slipped around the container. Just a little tip for you gardeners: jug houses. Cut a gallon plastic milk jug down to about 4 inches high, maybe. You could punch some drainage holes in the bottom and you could fill it with soil, plant seeds, and water it carefully. You could slip a plastic bag or Ziploc bag, what you normally get at the food store, over the jug. You could blow it up like a balloon, give it some air space, and tie the top securely. And just like that, you've made a miniature hothouse. It's like a miniature greenhouse for your seeds, and it's on a low budget with little to no money spent. Isn't that great? One of the important factors to keep in mind when sowing your seeds is whether the seed germinates best when exposed to the light and should not be covered up with soil that much, or whether the seed requires darkness to germinate and you would actually like sow your seed. So let me give you 2 examples of plants that germinate best in light. Now, when you're dealing with herbs and vegetables, you could dill and peppers for sure. They do best in light, as well as lettuce and savory. Now, some trees that do germinate well in darkness are coriander and fennel. Lastly, once you've done all of this I've said, you'll be well on your way of having beautiful germinated seeds and getting your garden on. I'd like to thank each and every one of you of sitting down and chatting with me today. I love chatting with you guys and giving you all these garden tips. And I pray that I will be here again soon to give you guys another update. We love you guys. Peace.